first, I'd really like to thank all of you for coming this evening. My name is Michelle White-Godinay, and I am the chair for the Dorothy L. Thompson Civil Rights Lecture Series. And on behalf of Provost Mason, she was unable to attend this evening. I know that she would welcome you here also. I just want to give you a little background on this series. The Provost's Office established the Civil Rights Lecture Series in 1994 in recognition of Dorothy L. Thompson's contributions in the field of human rights on campuses throughout Kansas and the nation. Dorothy Thompson was the director of the Office of Affirmative Action from 1972 to 1985, when she became the Associate University Attorney, and she served in that office until her untimely death in 1992. Dorothy was a role model for women and attorneys in Kansas. She was highly regarded by persons of all political leanings for her diplomacy, judiciousness, and effectiveness. She also had an abiding respect for all people and a profound commitment for fairness and equity. A Civil Rights Lecture Series is particularly a fitting memorial for her. And with that being said, Professor Fleiter in political science will make the next introduction. So hope you enjoy this.
Thank you. All right, our guest this evening is Jeff Jackson. He is a Washburn University professor of law. Professor Jackson received his bachelor's degree from Washburn University in 1989 and his Juris Doctor from Washburn University in 1992, and his Master of Laws in Constitutional Law from Georgetown University Law Center in 2003. Before joining the faculty at Washburn University, Jackson served as staff attorney in the Kansas Supreme Court, law clerk in the U.S. Court of Appeals for the 10th Circuit, which is based in Denver, law clerk in the Kansas Supreme Court, an associate at Bennett Dillon L.L.P in Topeka, and staff attorney for the Kansas Court of Appeals. Professor Jackson teaches courses on constitutional law, constitutional history, comparative constitutional law, and legal analysis, research, and writing. He has run this nation-building game in his constitutional law classes at Washburn, I guess over the summer in Barbados, in your summer law program, and even in the Republic of Georgia. So please welcome Professor Jeff Jackson.
All right, everybody, welcome. What I'm going to do tonight is, rather than kind of the run-of-the-mill lecture sort of thing, we're going to do something that's quite a bit interactive, and I'm kind of interested to see how this is all going to play out in kind of a different simulation thing. So basically, what we're going to do is hopefully to have all of you participate in the nation-building game. The idea here is to look at the way the United States Constitution was formed and hopefully realize that, as it turns out, there are certain reasons for why the Constitution is what it is. That is, it was formed by a bunch of people in a bunch of different states, each with their own incentives. So the good news is, what I've done is prepared a state for everybody based on kind of the different incentives that were available to the states at this time. And by doing that, we're going to talk about forming a government. The idea, of course, during this game is to get a government that is stable. So you get to learn a little bit about that. You want a stable government, but one that maximizes your point potential. All right, so with those parameters, I'll make the state assignments, and then I will kind of talk a lot about where we go from here as far as negotiations go. So how many people are playing tonight? How many people are playing tonight, ladies and gentlemen? Yes. Suddenly it's become that kind of thing. All right. So, congratulations, sir. You are the state of Virginia. And you get to be the great state of South Carolina. I hear the golfing is good there. I'm giving you the state of Georgia. You get to have New York. It's not bad. New York's a player here. So is Massachusetts. You're not going to play? Okay. Let's see. We want the great. Yeah, I was going to say. How about the great state of Pennsylvania?
Sure. Did you want to play?
Do you want to stay? Yeah, no, you can have a state. You can have Maryland.
Okay, I'll be Maryland. That's fine.
You can have Maryland, which means you get the tough state. New Hampshire. But to make this actually play well, I'm going to give you New Jersey. It's like the Jersey Shore situation. John, which one do you want to play? 'Cause
I don't
you have your choice of Delaware, Rhode Island, Connecticut, or North Carolina. North Carolina is very boring, so I would say
Rogues Island.
Rhode Island. That's not really better, mind you, than Delaware, but it's all right. Which means I myself will take over with Connecticut, North Carolina, and Delaware. So the first thing you'll notice that you have an incentive sheet. So congratulations, you've got a nation. Now you have to form a government. There's some problems that everybody needs to work out. That is, first you've got to figure out how much power the new government is going to get and kind of how that's going to be represented. Some of you, the idea is, do you represent by the number of people in a state, which is great for you big states, less so for the small states. Does each state get equal stuff, in which case, again, it's kind of the reverse. Great for the small states, not so good for the big states. So how does that work? Also, you will note some of these states have slaves in them. How do they figure in for representative capacity? So you've got to know that. You've also got to talk about trade restrictions, and depending on which state you are, you have differing attitudes toward that. Finally, we talk about taxes. How do we apportion them? Do we apportion them by population, which again is bad, or maybe land values? Finally, several states are fighting over western lands, lands to the west that aren't actually part of the states yet. The question is, do they get title to that, or is all of that transferred to the new government to be divvied up how they want to? All right? So, check your incentives. Take about 20 minutes to look over your incentives, and then we can talk about how you're going to bargain with each other to make this work. All right? All right. You may want to talk to some of these people too.
That's why we're over here.
Well, I already got some hours right here,
Yeah.
but
Well, what if we do the two houses of equal strength?
with population center,
No, we want to do equal strength. Equal
more
strength.
power and population center.
Like, and but I think it's
I will do two houses.
More power and population.
Are you population center? Are you for? Thank you.
How about the last one? Two houses with population centers, one in the minority. That sounds good to me.
Okay, so you want two houses or
I'd be great with one.
one? I'm okay with one.
Only if it's one vote per state. What did you guys say about the two houses of equal strength with one race?
Somehow we have to get more representatives with higher populations. Somehow.
Yeah.
You can't be equal across the entire board.
You can't have 500 one.
So what's the advantage of one house?
Majority rules. Higher population has more say.
What's your problem with two houses with population centered and one in the minority? You get your interests in the lower house, and then we're all equal. And the other house.
Then the point system is
For you.
For you, yes.
Then one based on total population. With that,
Do you mean two houses of equal strength and one based on population? Is that okay?
No, I think he's asking for the
population
house
centered
center.
one would be the minority house.
Well, and you realize you can trade other stuff. I mean, you don't have to all just sit here and go, okay, let's just trade. Let's just try and figure this out on its own.
We'll throw in West-
Representation.
We'll throw in West Virginia.
So you know, yeah.
how about
'Cause-
taxation?
Because I can guarantee almost that there's not going to be a deal if all you're concentrating on is just representation.
If you're not giving us full value in representation, or any value for that matter, for the slaves, then you have to give us land value for taxation.
No, I'm more willing to do population.
So,
And taxation, population is more important.
if we do,
You've got to give us either representation for the slaves, or you can't tax us for them. You can't do both.
What if we had a war and we're
Maryland is neutral.
Please wait 80 years.
State,
Please wait.
They prophesied that I don't
Yeah.
think we can wait anymore.
Please wait 80 years.
there you go.
If you
There you
don't
go.
talk about any of the representation, the taxation, I think, should be based on population.
then you have to count our slaves.
I don't know where that's going. It just was population and taxation.
You see what I'm saying, though?
That's assuming that you have one house.
That's what that is.
Well, let's put aside the representation issue and just focus on taxation. There's only two questions here.
But
How
I
about
think the
one
issue.
half? What about one house with half the slaves counting, and then I'll give you population less the slaves on taxation.
I can't do that either. No, not at all.
Yeah, well, we gotta gyp someone, so.
You would think
Massachusetts.
you would think you might think you would.
You
may
based
not.
on population, and then you go down here and you base it on population and taxation.
Then you have to give me total
And half,
population,
half,
half on the equal strength, half the slaves, and then you're lessing the slaves or total population on taxation.
doesn't say.
Either population or population less slaves. Which are you saying?
Some of us don't have that particular option,
Oh.
Yeah,
Okay.
that's the
thing.
Yeah, you guys don't have slaves.
yeah.
Right.
So if we do population and then count slaves as half, as the two houses of equal strength is based on population, would that work for you?
I'm gonna have to have the majority.
I'll do that.
Population centered. That's the main driver.
Equal strength and population with, slaves as half.
Is this with
full
population-centered one
population.
or one based on population?
Equal
strength, one based on population.
Yeah,
With
that
as
like
slaves
that.
counting as half,
I will do that.
I can do that. Okay, who votes for that one?
Then,
Maryland.
then you can't tax me for all the slaves. You gotta say less slave. How does that work?
Based on
Since they don't have
population.
slaves at all.
Since they don't have slaves at all, you
So
mean
can I still go half
yeah,
or less
Yeah.
the slaves?
yes, you can still go.
So
Yeah, we're counting the slaves.
yeah, up
Okay.
here,
Right?
but in my
Rhode
taxation
Island
bracket.
doesn't
Can
have
we
that
just-
many people.
can we just
Yeah.
Have
We
the
don't have
taxation
slaves,
proclamation
so
right here.
I mean, I prefer counting slaves just a quarter if I'm going to concede anything.
But do you have a lot of land?
We have a lot. Well, we have land.
So then you
Not
can,
that-
That much.
you can
That's
tax
a
it on
state.
population.
Rhode Island is the
The
power
land
here.
values are high.
Oh, okay.
That's what I'm saying.
So do it,
Little land isn't it?
so do it on population, so then we can have slaves as half, and still get your taxation, but we can still have equal strength based on population. For the two houses.
So you're giving half slaves on equal basis.
Slaves count as half, and then we do it on population, so the states with a lot of land don't get, or states with not a lot of land don't get, that.
No, because then you're not counting my slaves as full representation, but yeah,
It's
you're.
fine as half.
But that's better than a quarter.
Population,
That's better than a quarter.
you're getting more,
So like your slaves keep voting
When I'm watching your show.
No.
Give them the day off.
If,
Okay,
that's with the slaves. So you want to tax those too. So the thing is, with total population on taxation, I'm minus 30 points because all my slaves. That's where I'm in a pickle there.
I'm already going down to 15 points with 2 houses of equal strength with 1 based on population and half slaves.
All right, large states. Here's my concession. 2 houses of equal strength with 1 based on population. Slaves count as half only if we have taxation based on population.
Maryland agrees.
That's what I was saying.
Yeah,
And
and
then
that's what New Jersey was
for,
saying.
Okay.
for the states
Yeah.
with
Can you agree to that?
for
You
the
say
states.
taxes on population?
Yes.
Does the majority agree on this?
Well, here's the question.
Majority rules.
Yeah, are you guys
Majority rules.
are you guys going to play majority rules?
Yep.
You're going to play more than that. You remember the original idea
Well, there are other
is
things here
9.
to talk about too, but I think majority has to rule so we can keep going.
I agree.
This is why
So what was the majority? Who voted for that?
Yes.
For that, for that.
Are you for that one?
For that one. 1, 2, 3, 4,
Okay,
5.
someone restate
And
that.
then there's 5 people not saying
So,
anything.
2
No,
houses
okay.
of equal strength with 1 based on population, with slaves counting as half and taxation based on population.
Population.
less.
So
slaves.
again, let's vote again. For majority rules, the majority said majority rules. So.
See, okay,
I'm
now-
calling it.
This is one of those one of the things that they actually faced
Majority
Right.
population.
on the front
not
end.
Majority state numbers.
On the front end,
That's
one of the
what
things
she's
is
saying.
which how many people have to agree for you to agree that it's going to be binding?
We haven't agreed to that.
2/3.
All agreed to the equal strength.
You
If
want slaves
less
as-
slaves.
You want slaves as a quarter?
No, it's half.
That's half. So what we said,
Yeah,
but
we
based
said
on
you would do it.
population.
And on
Okay,
taxation,
so we're
less
agreeing on
is-
2 houses of equal strength with 1 based on population, the slaves is half.
If taxation is less slaves. So you
We
guys
don't have that.
Yeah. So you're saying for me though.
Yeah,
For
we
you,
For me.
I guess.
Yeah.
is that-
For you, it's
Okay,
yeah.
yeah.
All right.
got it.
All right.
Okay.
Woo.
Land
Okay,
rights.
so that was.
Government control.
Do we agree? You guys
we
going to
agree?
agree or not?
We need to vote.
Let's
Let's vote. 2 houses of equal strength with 1 based on population. Slaves count as half. And then taxation is based on population. All in favor, raise your hand and say aye. Aye. Let's
Yeah,
hold
that's
on.
a
Yeah, that's a
majority.
Hold on.
majority.
Population.
Less slaves.
I thought we decided for
It's
this.
just
Just for
population.
you. That's just for your state.
Okay, I'll take it.
All right. Woo. Moving on.
Okay, land rights. Government control, please.
Government control.
Government control.
No, we gotta have some power there.
Virginia?
And it doesn't look like we have a choice of half or anything. We either get it or the state gets it.
Yes, this is what we just did. Virginia, you're difficult.
You know, gotta have the power.
Virginia has incentives.
Lots of land, lots of money, lots of people. Gotta really push somewhere.
South Carolina's good with government control.
Nice there, South Carolina.
I would say
Nice.
We'll take that.
I am.
Okay, who's good with government control? Oh, it looks
I'll-
like another
Oh.
majority.
Oh, yeah.
I'll give you. How about government control if you
What?
give me free commerce on?
Now, I will say Maryland, if we allow government control, Maryland will allow for free commerce, yes.
I too.
Who is okay with that?
Crab cakes?
Yes.
Fine.
Sure, why not?
Are they really good crab cakes?
Of course they are.
Okay, I guess so.
Okay, so let's, before we mark
So,
it, everyone who agrees to
controls?
government control with free commerce.
Wait, free commerce means no controls?
It means,
Yeah. Okay. Well,
It's
it means free commerce.
it's
Yeah.
free versus
Mine says
state.
commercial controls versus no controls.
yeah, it's no
So
control.
no controls.
Mhm.
Okay.
Everyone
I'm
who's
good
in
with
favor,
that.
please raise their hand.
Yeah. but everyone-
Majority. All right.
Nay.
Okay. I will say this: any state who is dissatisfied doesn't have to join.
We don't?
So then we just.
But how much does that hurt you when you get
Oh,
down
but
to
that's
the
the
end?
problem
No,
because
it's
she's a
ruins
land rights.
your.
But the land rights though, do I have to,
I mean,
Do I have to do-
your ultimate weapon here is going it alone.
okay, because,
Which do you really want to do?
Right, because
Well-
the problem is that if New York doesn't join us, because she's New York, or if Virginia doesn't join us, then we all have to take away 25 points towards the end.
Because
If you look at the agreement, look at the agreement on the back.
Because I don't
Where's
want
New
to
York?
lose that.
Are you New York?
I already took a big cut
Oh,
of the
where's
two
It's
houses.
New York.
Oh.
New York obviously doesn't have that prohibition.
Yeah.
You know, 20 points
So
is better
Virginia-
than no agreement and not getting 80 points.
With no agreement.
Yeah.
I need Virginia.
Oh, now you guys want to agree a little bit.
I need Virginia and New York.
See, there's a hammer there for Virginia, which is you can't.
But I lose. See, I get nothing back.
Well, okay, where are we with internal controls? What are you talking about that one?
Supremacy clause, please, again.
With
No.
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 Okay, well, will
Would
you
you
allow
agree
for,
to everything else? If
The
we
only
had
one I'm
to
gonna agree with the
supremacy clause.
rest is free commerce. Like,
we already did free
We did
commerce.
government
But
control
I know,
and free
but the
commerce.
I
other-
want
I'll be
state
okay with
control.
I
that.
want
right?
state control, and
I would be good for supremacy.
and I would go
But I'd
with
go without it.
supremacy. If,
I would go with that as well.
Will you agree to an agreement if we
Yeah, no
do what
controls
you
for
want on that
5.
one?
on the
Yes.
land, I would do supremacy, the
Good call.
supremacy clause.
If
Yeah.
you say, if you'll stay in
lost
the
my
agreement.
map.
Okay.
No
Yeah.
supremacy.
No.
I would be okay with no supremacy if that is.
So you
That's
say no
enough for me.
supremacy?
I don't think that's enough for me. I'm saying no.
better than
Yeah.
not being in.
Well, I would go with the supremacy clause if I can have control back on land.
Yeah, I need Virginia.
Virginia, are you gonna say yes on
Land values
supremacy?
instead of population?
Land rights.
Where's that?
We already got
Oh,
that.
government control?
That's
The
Yeah.
problem is though, if we can't,
I don't
she's
know.
saying no. So New York is saying no, and if she's saying no to the agreement that we have for the land rights, the government control, if she's saying that it needs to be state control, then we have to take, if New York doesn't agree to the final confederation, then we all have to subtract points.
I also disagree. I'm gonna go with you gotta give the land rights
You gotta give the land.
So state control.
to the states because you're not allowing us to break on taxation for
So,
the lands.
okay, so you're
So,
saying state
give us-
control with free commerce and the supremacy clause. Is
Okay.
that what,
State control.
Yeah, I'm fine with that.
Okay, so.
No supremacy clause.
You don't want this.
supremacy clause?
No.
Yes, having it.
Okay, so you want your control.
Yep.
For land rights.
Yep.
And you also want no supremacy, right?
No, she said she was
Supremacy. I would go for everything else. Free
Does anybody
commerce,
else want no
supremacy.
supremacy clause?
I would be okay with
I
that.
would be okay to go with the,
But I
with
would
the,
not.
with the supremacy clause instead.
With it or with
With.
We're
With.
small, we prefer to control our local affairs.
What does that mean?
Okay.
I'm really, I don't care about that one
I
so
also
much
agree.
as
I
I do
need
no
supremacy.
the land
You need
rights.
supremacy.
So no
And I need it
supremacy.
with Virginia
I'm with
and
no
New York.
supremacy clause.
No supremacy? Yes.
No supremacy?
Okay, no supremacy.
Okay.
Okay, I don't
No
really
supremacy,
care.
we're okay with that, right?
But then we're keeping governmental control on land rights?
We're
I
Well,
don't
you've
want
only
that.
got-
I don't want
I
that.
don't know. I didn't see a
No,
majority
okay.
votes for no supremacy,
Yeah,
so I
the
don't know.
problem is
Yeah.
that
I
y'all
can
are,
go either way on that one, depending on other things.
there's still some very big gaps here. Cause I heard you
I
say
need
no.
supremacy.
I'm fine with that. I lose,
Either
but I'm
way.
fine with that, as long as I get control back.
So who can have supremacy clause and be okay?
Who can and be okay?
And be okay.
If we do supremacy clause, and you'll be okay.
Oh,
If you do supremacy clause, you're gonna have to switch your taxation to land values.
No.
No,
So
absolutely
what about
not.
land rights?
Well, that's what New York is
I thought
asking
we
for, that we
decided
go back
that.
to
I thought we
state
decided
control.
that. Your control. Your
But what if
control.
we go to each state controls and go with supremacy clause?
No.
I'm fine.
Yeah, you know what?
I'm fine.
Maryland will do that.
Would that make,
I'm fine with, as long
No
as I get
supremacy
control
clause,
of the
no
land
laws.
rights, I don't care what we
I
do.
don't care.
So, I'm just,
I want the government to control that.
Land rights?
But how much are you losing?
I'm not losing it.
So if you
Well,
do
that's better
your
than-
control, you lose nothing?
If I give the government control, I will gain.
Yeah, but if you,
If
when you
each
lose
state
anything,
controls,
if you do
not
your
losing.
control,
You probably do. Mine
Probably do.
My control, I get 0 points.
I get
Yeah,
0
me too.
points, so I'm
Well-
deferring, I'm saying that's okay.
so you're saying
I
that
lose
if you have state control
If
then,
if they're in
then I gain.
in Virginia, If you have
But I
state
lose kind of
control-
big if I don't, so.
Over land rights.
Land rights, state control.
Land rights,
Is that
state
good for you?
control, free commerce with the supremacy clause.
With
Is
no
that what I'm
supremacy
hearing?
clause.
I'm fine with that.
I can't do that.
Virginia needs no supremacy clause.
In
though.
order to stay in here, so how much do you lose from this one?
Quite a bit. I mean, if you add what I'd be giving up for land rights and internal control, that's not okay. No, I'm already giving up.
And I'm uncomfortable with giving each state control over land rights because our borders are already pretty determined.
Right.
We don't have any land out west like
Same.
Virginia.
We don't either.
We don't either.
Neither do I.
I'll gain from government control.
I will too, I'm just saying.
I would be okay with government control of land rights, but no supremacy clause.
I thought that's what we were.
Yeah, that's what we're.
That's what we
But
want.
then,
With
but
no
then we lose
supremacy.
Virginia.
But
But
then
then we lose
Yeah.
Virginia.
And me
But
too.
then we lose.
No, I'm with
Virginia
no
and
supremacy
New York.
clause.
Oh.
No supremacy
So the
clause.
point is, we need to keep them both.
Virginia finds no supremacy.
Right.
So what
but-
if we
but
get
the
Virginia
issue is
but not
And I
land
could
rights.
stay here all night.
What if we get Virginia and not New York?
Gotta have them both.
Yeah, that's what it
And then
says.
Trying to
if you
figure
don't,
it out.
if you don't agree
You
on
lose 50.
something, does
With no agree,
I
you
no
would-
get to
agreement, I
pick
would say.
whatever you
Yeah,
want?
I need agreement.
20
I need
if
agreement.
I don't get those 2 cents.
You don't have a nation if you don't agree to everything.
So you lose and just everybody else.
Oh no, if
Everybody loses the points at the end.
everybody loses their points at the end.
So
You, however, don't lose the points at the end. You just don't get the points for having a nation.
Okay. So
I
Because you're Virginia, and you could be your own nation if you felt like it.
Okay, so to get Virginia and New York on the same page would help.
yeah, we're
And then we can try to
tell
figure out.
us. Yeah, tell us what you need, starting with land rights and internal controls, because that's what I'm hearing the issue. So where are you at, each of you?
The only thing I care about is my control of land rights, and everything else I don't care. You guys can do whatever you want.
So state
You can
control.
duke it out, I don't care.
That's fine with me, I don't lose it.
The problem is though, if Maryland gives up state control and we go to no supremacy clause, that's not okay.
would you take the supremacy clause and then government control?
Yes.
Yes,
Yes. Would you?
I'm not.
But
Yes.
New York can't.
I'm not. Like I said, the only one I care about is land rights. That's the only one. I don't care.
How much do you lose?
Really, how much could you possibly lose?
You
More
only
than-
lose
Yeah,
15.
this is
More than
not
I
me.
want to,
No, I
like-
actually would lose 30 instead of gaining 50.
Now-
Lose
You said I'd lose 30.
And you wonder why the Constitutional
all in
Convention
all. That's
lasted
30
as
points
long as
that
it
I
did.
won't have.
So if it's in your control, you want government or your control?
Yeah,
Okay,
this is
you
what we
gain
have to
from
have.
that.
I know.
Okay.
I'm good with that.
So what about supremacy?
then we have to be
It's
at
not me.
supremacy
On
clause.
this part, it's not me. It's New
I
York.
propose that we
I
adjourn
don't
and go to the
care. No, he
tavern
said-
for a drink.
can we import liquor in here? That will ease the negotiations.
So, from what I'm hearing by this side conversation is that if you go with state control, because that's what New York needs, Virginia, are you okay with the supremacy clause?
No.
He loses more for the supremacy clause than he does.
I'd rather
for
give
getting
up my
government control.
land
And I
rights
can't- I'm
than
not
my
doing
supremacy
that.
clause.
You
I
can't
lose-
give them.
No, it's taken away from me twice. I lose points twice if I do that.
If you take state control and no supremacy clause.
That's correct. That is not okay. I'm not doing
What's everybody else?
enough, more than I want to.
I go either
It
way.
doesn't
on
really
either
matter
one.
to
It
you
would
guys very
behoove
much.
me to stay with what
Okay,
my
this is not
and
about
leave
land.
Yeah, I prefer
New York or
supremacy, but
Virginia.
I can.
It would be
Yeah,
the same.
I'll go no supremacy, just to
I need Virginia as New York.
Yeah, it's.
Well, but that's where I'm at.
To take the no supremacy clause, what do you want?
Then I would need government control. But I can't do that because of New York.
New
and
York is saying that
stay.
she has to have state control. Dun, 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 dun.
I mean, I already gave up.
That's why I said, can we do one or the other?
Yeah, let's do that. One or the other.
The answer was no or no.
Well,
Well, I can do no
said we
supremacy,
can.
slaves don't count.
we already said it. So
We're our nose.
I don't want to
Sure,
drink
illegal.
Yes.
Sorry, it's just
What state are you
Would either one of you guys gain out of land values?
It's the same
Yeah,
for me.
Taxation
Or land, wait, the,
Land value and
and
taxation.
taxation.
no.
You wouldn't gain.
I mean, I would even lose that for, land rights is my most important one out of all of these others.
Would you wouldn't give up the land rights to take land values?
I would.
All right, guys, we have about a 10-minute window for more discussion before we go into formal session. That doesn't mean that other discussion can't take place, but
It'd be better if we just fixed it now.
So,
it would be better if you fixed it now, because otherwise you're going to
Somebody's
be
gonna
ramming
turn
it.
at the last
Yeah.
minute and vote the other way.
who's okay with your control for land rights?
Me.
I will be
Sure.
okay with that.
I'll
I'll lose
be okay
points,
with it.
but I'm okay with it.
I'll be okay
I'll
with
get
it.
8 points.
I am only, just to be clear, I
Okay, the
am,
majority was okay with state control.
Is that the majority?
Government
Is that-
Six of us.
Yeah, it's not
no, the
government control.
majority was
State
okay with
control is your
government
control.
control originally.
When
But
she
we
says
just
state
And then I said I'll lose points, but I'm still
That's
okay
our
with that.
No,
Until we just changed.
Again, I did not raise my hand for that because mine is conditional with either how we vote for no supremacy or supremacy clause.
What state are you?
Maryland.
Maryland?
I'll go on its own.
You are the weakest link.
Okay, Virginia. It's all
You're the one we
right.
don't need. All right, good.
No crab cakes for you.
Moving on. The crab cake detente, however.
Right.
We need to come to an agreement.
You two need to duke it out over the land
I
rights
vote for
or
New
the
York already.
internal controls over which one of you guys are gonna.
Like I said, all I care about is land rights.
So
So
I'm
you
having
need
to
your
go
control?
to state,
Yeah.
I'm having to go to state control and a no supremacy clause?
How about state control with
Yes.
supremacy clause?
No.
No, you had to.
That's what I need.
I don't even
That's
care.
That's
You don't
the
even care about
biggest point.
supremacy?
No, he's the
So
one who's
she's
being.
out.
I
If we
lose,
get
but
your
not
control,
now.
if we get your control, you're good. Okay, we're
Yeah.
doing your control.
No, I need no supremacy.
I'm good with that.
So state control, no supremacy.
Yes, your
Yeah,
control.
I gotta tell you,
no
I gotta
supremacy.
go out.
I think we're
Especially
gonna
in the
have to do
whole.
that.
Yeah, me too. I'm with Pennsylvania. I'm pretty pissed off. Just so you know.
Haven't left.
We don't need Pennsylvania, darling.
What do you
Let's
need?
go to
Pennsylvania?
California and dig for gold.
What do you
Higher
need? Pennsylvania?
contract renewal.
I need 2 houses, of equal strength,
Which we got.
We
The
have
state
to have
count
that,
as
based on
house.
population.
population,
Mm-hmm.
population-centered one, slaves don't count.
We have slaves as
I
half.
need-
Half.
I know you
No, but
voted
she's
for
saying
that.
what
I
she
didn't, but
needs.
Taxation by population,
Yes, we have that.
I would be fine with
Control.
slaves don't count.
That's what we're still working on.
free commerce,
It'd be even better with
We
So
have
no
that.
control of
Supremacy.
Slaves don't count.
I would prefer supremacy.
Yeah, I would too, but
I
I'm okay
prefer
with
it,
losing
I'll work.
points.
I'll work with it. I'm not losing any points by now.
So we gotta figure out land rights. Are you okay with everything up until
Land rights?
taxation, population count, or something like that? As long as it's land rights, we haven't figured that one out.
Land rights and internal controls.
So does the slave thing really hit you hard?
10 points, I guess, a difference of 10. When we're taking away is
Okay, here's,
40 or 50 points taken away.
I would go with
All those other
counting
things.
slaves as a quarter or not counting slaves at all.
I
If-
wouldn't.
No, we're back to that.
We're back to
No.
that.
No.
We already,
What
we
if-
already ruled on that.
Yeah.
Would it help you if we bumped up to a populated
No,
centered
No.
with half?
no,
That would hurt you a lot.
I can't do that one at all.
Yeah.
What
It's
if,
just off the table.
what if she
I
agreed?
can't do that
She
at all.
had to do that one that we picked when she's in.
The
Well,
slaves
not
is half.
necessarily.
did
I
we
could do
pick?
2 houses with this population centered in minority.
Yeah, but that really hurts me.
Slaves
Yeah.
count as, or I could do one house ago
under the 2 house, yeah.
with
Of
one
equal
state.
strength.
I think the
Or one-
majority,
Yeah, equal strength
even
with
you
one
wanted
based on
the
population.
strength,
Would a quarter
based
slaves
on
help anybody
population.
out? Any of you guys?
The issue with me is just whether
Would
it's
you be willing to
Under
work
which one? Because that's what.
the
Under the
equal,
two houses
the
with
equal
equal-
strength one?
There's, I
If
have,
I gave into a quarter slaves, would you change your mind on the whichever one? No supremacy
no,
clause.
because there's no change for me.
Does anyone ever agree on this?
Yes, and
Some point
I'll
somebody
tell
does.
you at the I'll tell you at
They
the
just
end
get
of this.
tired.
No, it's
What
actually
did we get for taxation?
Taxation is population.
Oh,
I will tell you at the
Yeah, it
end
hurts-
that
it hurts.
usually we get agreements, but nobody said you had to have a unanimous agreement, right?
Right.
So
okay, land
at
rights.
some point it may just
That's
end
true.
up we
So
may
if
just
we
end
pick
up
out
with a vote.
Pennsylvania and Maryland, do we all agree?
That's true.
Yeah, I'm okay with that actually. You
So
guys-
can you say that again though?
Okay. We have 2 houses of equal strength
Right.
with 1 based on population. Slaves count as half.
Taxation by population.
Population. I'll say each state controls land rights.
Okay.
Commerce, no controls.
Meaning each state controls, correct?
Free commerce.
Population.
And is
I have to
commerce
give
free
those to
commerce
use.
or?
But stay
Yeah.
in the
Commerce,
nation.
no controls.
5 points?
Yeah, but I'm not.
No
getting
controls is
anything
free
from you
commerce.
guys. I got 2
Okay.
points for 2 houses of equal strength. 2.
What about the slave count?
The slave count as half equals 2 points.
So you have 4 points right now, and then you would lose 5.
Yeah.
But are you gaining if
What
you
are you?
But you would gain with the agreement.
She's Georgia.
What state are you?
Georgia.
You would gain with the agreement though.
You would gain with the agreement.
Yeah.
Would
30
you
years
gain
vote,
with
that's what I mean.
them in the agreement?
I'm
Yes,
in
you
Virginia
would.
and New York, and
Yeah,
I will
so-
gain 50 points.
Okay, can you do with all that if they stay in there? Because if you agree to that, then we can agree with these guys. That means we can get them in there, and then you win because you have more
Right.
points.
So you need the no supremacy clause to stay in.
Absolutely.
What
And
do
we're
you
gonna
need?
do free commerce, correct?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, I can do that.
And what about your control in the state? Is that okay?
On what?
It's fine.
So no supremacy clause?
No supremacy.
It's okay.
It's okay. George is in counseling now, but
How much?
We agree to disagree.
And then we
but
have
we're
an
together
agreement,
as
right?
a
No
nation.
supremacy.
Does
equals
everyone
0
vote for an
Right.
agreement
Well,
with that?
I lose 5.
At least
No,
we're not
I-
losing.
We agree with
At
everything?
least we're not losing.
We're
that.
losing.
Are you okay?
All I'm
with
gonna
that?
say is y'all better be happy
Yep.
with
We're
me.
good.
I got my state control, I'm good.
all right, ladies and gentlemen, I will go to formal session then. Here's a silly question. What's behind here? Oh, there's a whiteboard. All right, our session is now in order. What say you on the subject of representation?
2 houses of equal strength, 1 based on population. Slaves count as half.
2 houses of equal strength. 2 houses equal strength, 1 population, slaves half.
Yes.
All in favor, say, raise your hand. All opposed? Okay. On taxation.
Population.
Population less slaves.
Population, yeah, less slaves. Population, less slaves. All in favor? I'd say all opposed, but everybody raised their hand, so we're good there.
If I don't have population with less slaves, what does that mean? Do I just go with population?
Yeah, you just ignore that because you don't have slaves, right? Because you're Massachusetts, okay. Yeah, you don't have to worry about it. It's an incentive for Virginia to throw a compromise. Okay. Land rights. Land rights. Each state.
State has control.
All in favor? All opposed? Ooh, 5 to 4.
I thought we got that figured
I thought we did too.
So we have a majority.
There's still a majority rules though, and that's what
So the ones that said yes are still in.
Five 5 to 4 on the majority. So the question is, well, the question will be at the end if everybody goes for this, but that's we'll start this with that. So what is it? Sorry, what were we on?
State control.
Yeah, state control. Land right is each state. Okay. Commerce. Free commerce. All in favor? All opposed? 1. So the commerce is free, which brings us to internal controls. Supremacy clause, yes or no?
No.
All in favor? All opposed? Pennsylvania is being obstinate on this. Okay. This is the agreed upon idea that the majority agreed upon. Now the question that you have is, will you be okay with this as a nation? South Carolina, what say you? Are you in or out?
Yeah, we're in.
Okay, South Carolina is in. Georgia, in or out? New York. Maryland. Pennsylvania. We'll come back to Pennsylvania. Virginia. Massachusetts. New Hampshire. New Jersey. Rhode Island. Do we really care about Rhode Island? Yeah, I suppose we should care. Rhode Island?
We'll come along in a couple of years.
We'll expect you by 1790.
Rhode Island and Pennsylvania might have their own.
Okay. Pennsylvania? Susan.
Pennsylvania is calculating. No supremacy. So are you in or out?
Well, it says now it
Is
says
that what your,
New York,
is that what your
Virginia are out.
agreement
at the
for
end?
agreement?
Minus
What do
50,
you
so
get for the agreement?
minus 10.
You
So
get nothing for an agreement?
that I should
Oh,
have.
so you're at 50.
You're at 50 then.
You're good.
I should
I
have.
was
You
20
agree
without
you're
New York,
at 50.
Virginia. I was 80 without Virginia.
I only
Yeah,
have
but
20.
what's your
And I'm in.
taxation since we decided on population?
I don't think that's gonna be
What do
cool.
you got 40 points. See, I'm losing.
So are you in?
Yeah,
Pennsylvania?
I
I
lost
have
five.
anyone
I
else.
lost 5, but I lost
Okay, then
5.
that, no, Pennsylvania, that's no, yeah, no good, Pennsylvania. Then
Wait,
I'm
you
negative.
said no good for.
I'm not fucking spot.
So,
There's no agreement, then I'm
well,
lost.
everyone loses.
I know, I'm
Yeah.
trying to convince Pennsylvania. Pennsylvania's not in, that's the issue.
What do you need?
Do we
which
have
ones
to have
do you need?
Pennsylvania in for an agreement?
You don't actually have to have Pennsylvania in for an agreement.
You don't.
No, you
No, so
don't.
we can go
Oh,
forward
because
without
we're majority.
Yeah.
But it's a majority agreement, so I don't want to take points.
What do you
Is that
need,
right?
Pennsylvania?
I need more than 10 points.
But you're still there.
But with the agreement, you have 50 points.
Yeah.
Not zero.
Yeah, you guys won't take the hit if you leave Pennsylvania out.
Oh, okay, well then.
Yeah.
But
five
no,
Pennsylvania.
is that still an agreement?
It's still an agreement, yes.
Oh, okay.
Pennsylvania out is still an agreement.
Okay,
Yeah. Okay.
well,
All right.
have fun eating your chocolate.
Pennsylvania has Hershey. All right. So I think we have an agreement. Perfect. All right. So generally speaking, you're a winner if you have positive points. So South Carolina, what's your point total?
We'll add the 20 at the bottom for agreement.
Yes.
35.
35 points. Georgia? Wow. New York?
95.
What?
Maryland?
25.
Pennsylvania?
10.
Plus the 40, oh yeah.
No, not the
The
40.
agreement though, you get to count that as zero.
No,
If she
you don't get to
has-
count the agreement if you don't agree to it.
Fair enough, so 10.
Virginia,
80.
Massachusetts,
75,
New Hampshire,
70.
New Jersey,
60.
Rhode Island,
85.
Well, you were good all
I didn't.
along. Since we didn't agree, doesn't everybody have to?
No, because you have an agreement, you have a majority agreement that you agreed upon. The fact that Pennsylvania doesn't agree doesn't change that. So as long as you have a majority agreement, you're okay. All right. So the idea of this, right? The purpose of all of this, and then we can go eat some food. We can go have some refreshments. But the idea here is that if each state does give a little, it's possible for everybody to end up kind of in the positive. And you would have ended up, Pennsylvania would have ended up in the positive, right? Yeah, well, that's true. Yeah. Everybody ended up in the positive, and even with an agreement, you would have, yeah, you still would have ended up 50. So actually, you guys have done probably the second best job of this in all of the simulations that I've run, which means you're running behind only people in the Soviet Republic of Georgia, which is, but it took them 7 hours to do this, to negotiate all of this to the best of everybody's ability. But that was pretty good. So you guys, normally when I run this in American law schools, and even when I ran it in a half program with the West Indies, we have at least 2 states that are in the negative. The fact that everybody ended up in a positive meant that you actually have a chance at a viable nation. You may have a civil war a little bit down the road, but for the most part, it's a viable nation, and everybody should benefit. So I say with that, let's eat. Thank you for playing, guys. Enjoyed it.